I would say to Jennifer, me, Mary, Kristen, Ann, and Huck. We're pretty much and Jay. We're pretty much the standouts here. A lot of people sick, unfortunately, and then a lot of people just taking some time off, which is a good thing. But what I wanted to do this morning is just kind of have a conversation. Really want you guys to kind of what you've already thought about as you enter into 2023. I mean, David's, brand new. Jennifer's working on kickstarting her business back into place. And I'd love just to take the first little bit of time today to have you guys kind of talk a little bit about what things you've already thought about, what activities that you've already thought about that you would like to do from a standpoint of, prospecting for new business, but also what sort of disciplines are you putting in place, right? To really have a system and a discipline to get the things done. And the reason I want to do this is because I think, I know some of you watched the video on Tuesday. We had a few people in here watching it with me, and then some people did it on their own, but this market's going to improve. The media is telling you it's not. I'm going to record my radio show later today and basically just talk about the media is lying to the public. And this isn't the January 6th controversy or the, Speaker of the House controversy or anything like that. This is about the media only wants to give bad news. And this real estate market is a great example of it. If you haven't watched the Barry Habib video, I would encourage you to watch it because he talks about there's a particular reporter on CNN that for 6 or 7 years now has said that the market's going to crater, that you shouldn't buy a house. And in that video, he shows that if you had listened to her and not bought a house for, I think it was $300,000, you lost $250,000 in the last 10 years or whatever the number was. I mean, it was an extraordinary amount of money that somebody lost if they listened to her. Even recently has said it again, that this is not the time to buy a house and interest rates are high and that the housing market's gonna, the housing bubble is gonna burst and it's just not, there's no factual basis to it. Barry Habib has been recognized as one of the top, if not the top, real estate economists in the country. And to the point, and this is a little scary, but he told his clients that on November 10th of 2022, interest rates were going to bump up to 7%. He told them that in the summertime, because he watches these trends. And sure enough, what did the market do? It trended up to 7%. And in the video, you watch it, you'll see why it is, why that happened. But at the same time, because of those things, what I want to share with you before we kind of talk about what we're going to do to really take advantage of this market versus allow the market to take advantage of us is I want to point you toward a few things that you can tell your clients if they're listening to the media. If they're listening, one thing I hope we'll do is when I do this, my radio show Saturday, when I do my radio show Saturday, you'll have a 20-minute podcast that you'll be able to just send to buyers or sellers to have them really understand what's going on in the marketplace and why it is a good time to put their house on the market, why it is a good time to buy a house. And just, some highlights. Again, before we hear from you guys in regards to what you want to do, and then with what you guys want to do, I've got some ideas as to what we can do as a group. But the first highlight is inflation is coming down. Inflation is coming down. It's been going down a little bit. And so this Fed rate increase has worked. And Barry Habib feels like that's going to continue. And because the inflation is going to continue to go down, interest rates will go down, right? Inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. So the supply chain is better. The shelter supply chain, he talks about that in the video. The housing, the cost of lumber and getting roofing and all those kind of things. That supply chain is improving slowly but surely, but the shelter costs are lagging behind the goods and services, the retail stuff. That's why you saw at Christmas, there was too much stuff. And the retail people were trying to get rid of it, 60, 70, 80% discounts because they had too much inventory versus not enough. Well, that's not true as it relates to the housing market. We still have low housing inventory, and we're going to continue to have low housing inventory. We're going to continue to have more buyer demand than houses on the market. And that's why there's not going to be a housing bubble burst, because there's more demand than there is supply. That's a simple economic, equation, if you will, the supply and demand. And if there's enough demand and there's not enough supply, then home values will continue to go up. They won't go down. Now, they're not going to go up by 15, 18% like they've done over the last couple, 3 years, but statistics shows in the 5% range. But 5% of 300,000 is $15,000. 5% of $500,000 is 70. What is it? But 5% of $500,000 is $25,000, right? That's a nice, healthy increase. And as you're getting that increase plus paying down your mortgage, your equity is going to increase. That's another reason why there's not going to be a housing bubble. There's not going to be the foreclosure and the the short sale phenomenon that we had back in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11. Why is that? Because the sellers, even if they're in a tough financial situation, they have equity in their home. They can sell it and get out of it and have money to go do something else with. They're not going to be what they call underwater, where they sell their house and it's not enough to pay off the mortgage. From Barry's perspective, the inflation peaked back in June. Now, a lot of people say, no, it was August, September, October, November. No. June it peaked. And then slowly but surely, the lagging behind, you began to see the impacts of the fact that it was CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, is dropping. Shelter costs, as I said, are still going up, but they're going to come down in the early spring, from what Barry's perspective is. The shelter costs are going to start going down in the early spring. And then the most, and I know some of you watch this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but a couple other things. Watch the 10-year Treasury note. If you just on a weekly basis, just take a look, Google the current 10-year Treasury note, what you're going to see is the interest rate is going to follow by about 2% less than that, or what they call 200 basis points. Because of the economy over the last couple, 3 years, it was up to 300 basis points. And what that meant is that when the 10-year Treasury was at 4, that's why interest rates were at 7. Normally, the interest rate would be at 6. And so Barry believes that by the early spring, that the Treasury will probably be around 3.5%. And therefore, he's predicting that interest rates could be as in the mid-5s by early spring. So what does that say about our expectations, right? Oh, one other thing. I thought this was amazing. Today, the seller average percent in home equity is 58%. 58% of that home value is in equity now versus the mortgage, right? In 2008, which was 14, 15 years ago, 19%. That's incredible. You bought a house in 2008 and you had, and the average was 19% of the money, the value was in your equity. And today it's 58%. That's why the foreclosure and the short sale thing is just not going to happen in this marketplace. And so anyway, and a couple other things just to remind you for later, because I'm going to come back to this later. 1 out of every 6 homes, 1 out of every 6 homes is an investment purchase. That number was staggering to me. That 1 out of every 6 houses that sell, now this is nationally, but 1 out of 6 homes that are bought nationally are for investment reasons, not for principal owner occupied, right? And then much better to buy versus rent after the second year. The only time we should be counseling somebody not to buy a house in this market is if they're only going to be here 2 years or less. Say they're coming here for business school, or, you know, a residency of some sort or whatever, and they know they're only going to be here 2 years. They're not going to stay, and they don't want to have, and this is an important condition, they don't want to have a rental, you know, an investment. Now, I would encourage them, hey, buy a house, buy it so that whatever you buy it for, your monthly payment is equal to what you could rent it for. And then when you get done with your residency, you get done with Darden or whatever, keep it, rent it out, have somebody else paying down the mortgage and put that into your portfolio. But a lot of people don't want to do that. If they don't want to do it, then maybe so they shouldn't do anything. But anything longer than 2 years, they're going to do okay. They're going to, you know, be able to, from the standpoint of appreciation, whether it's 5% or whatever it is, the appreciation, the mortgage interest deduction, if they do a VHDA loan, what's called a tax credit. There's all sorts of things that are after, you know, before tax credits that make it worthwhile to do something if you're going to be in it for at least, you know, greater than 2 years. So just keep those things in mind. And those are just some quick, you know, overviews of what's going on in the market as to why you should begin to think right now that we are not in a quagmire. This is the time that we need to be out there beating the drum, building relationships, gaining credibility, showing people we care, and giving them the information they need to make an educated decision as to whether or not this is the right time for them to be in the real estate market. So with that, one last thing. There's no doubt that we're going to be in a recession if we're not already in it. You don't really know you're in a recession until almost a year later because of the way they do the numbers. But it's pretty factual that we will be in a recession if we're not winning. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, right? Housing stays strong through recession. Housing stays strong through a recession because that's the one thing that people, you know, all have and continue to need. So anyway, so those are just some initial thoughts as to what's going on in the market, why you should be excited, why you should be ramping up to encourage people. And so with that, I'd love to, whether it's Dave, Jennifer here in person, or all of you on Zoom, appreciate everybody being here this morning. Let's just real quickly just sort of scatter shoot around and give us some ideas of things that that you are planning on doing this year. One, to discipline yourself to be more intentional about finding new business, or two, with that intentionality or that discipline, what types of things do you think you should be doing to put yourself in front of enough people to generate the kind of business that you want to generate for 2023? So who wants to start? Go ahead, Pat. Pat, you gotta.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, I was thinking about this because I knew you were going to ask a question like that. I did watch that video yesterday. And this is kind of maybe too specific for what you're asking. But I thought to myself, when I finished it, I listened to it over 2 different periods of time. Then I went in and talked with my wife and tried to communicate to her what I just listened to.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea.
But what I came away with after doing that is, it seems to me, regardless of what we're going to try to do, well, maybe not regardless, but one of the things I know we're going to be trying to do is whether it's, you know, you see somebody after church, or you see somebody in the store, or wherever you see them, always, hey, you're in real estate, or you bring up that you're real estate. Yeah, you know, and the question leads to what's the state of things and all that. And I find myself, I mean, I know because I've been with us for a little while now, I need to be positive. But what I've found is I fumble around a little bit. And so one of the things I've thought that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and look at that video. And I thought the most powerful part was when, and not to make light of the CNN or whoever the person is, but it was so powerful when he went through the numbers of, in 2013, she said this. And then actually there was a 9% increase in value. So it was like over 10 years, it was totally amazing. And that's powerful. If you can put that in, if you can get that in your head, that's going to be my goal, to try and get some of those things in my head, specifically like that, because I did that actually with my wife, and that helped her kind of move from, yeah, this guy's just a real estate agent, and you know, he's trying to give it a good spin. So I think that could be powerful. That's what I'm going to do.
No, and Pat, that's really good. I wrote down, practice with others, right? And most of us have voice memo things on our smartphones, right? So just okay, just pretend, David, pretend somebody asks you, how is the market? Use your little voice memo and just talk it through, or get with Jennifer and you guys do it back and forth, but talk it through and then listen to it. And you're going to be frustrated and go, boy, that sounded terrible. Or maybe not David. David probably do it right the first time. But the point being is, you may think like you don't sound good or whatever. But the bottom line is, listen to it, write down where you could have done it better, and then do it again, right? And then I don't mean to be, what's the word for this? Anyway, I don't want us to be like pull the string. That's not what I'm saying. But in one sense, I am. Pull the string, and if I have, that elevator speech kind of thing, if I have 2 minutes or 3 minutes with somebody in a grocery store line who says, how is the market? Because you've got your Howard Hanna badge on, or you've got a realtor hat on, or whatever the case may be, in those 2 or 3 minutes, can I communicate to somebody and get them from where they thought the market was to where it is? And you can, in those 2 or 3 minutes, you can do what we talk about in regards to building rapport, gaining credibility, showing people you care. In those 2 or 3 minutes, you can do all three of those things. You can build rapport with somebody, blah, 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 talking to them. You can gain credibility by, talking that you have some knowledge about what's going on in the market, and it's different than maybe they've heard from other places. And then, you can show them they care and say, look, if you're interested, if you'll just give me your email address, I will add you into my database, and on a monthly basis, you'll get a ip from me with new information about your marketplace. Give me your email address, give me your zip code, and you can put them right in. And then if the person behind you doesn't have too many groceries, pay for their groceries. I don't know if you've ever done that. I've been trying to do that, not frequently, but, and I don't look at the woman with the 6 kids that it's going to be like a $200 bill. But if I see somebody behind me and I've had a conversation with, sometimes I'll say, hey, I'm going to buy their groceries. And, that's it. People are just like, wait, what? No, you're not going to do it. Yeah, I am. I'm going to do that. I just want to pass it on. I want to pay it forward. Right. So that's another way of showing them that you care in a very, significant way. But I love that, Pat, about practicing and listening to it again. And that's why when we did it, the video, that's why I sat there and I took notes. It was the second time I had watched the video, but I took notes on the highlights of things so that then I can talk to you about it. But as I talk to you about it, and the next person asks me, I'm going to be able to just put it in my own language in a way where I, like you said, Pat, that I stumble around. We all stumble around, right? And the other thing, from a standpoint of this, just building on that, is on your Facebook page, just go Facebook Live. Just get 2 or 3 points and just say, hey, this is Jennifer. Hey, I just want to let you know, you may not know this, but interest rates are going to go down again. And why are they going to go down? Well, the reason they're going to go down is because inflation is beginning to improve. And with inflation improving, then the 10-year Treasury note will begin to decline. And when the 10-year Treasury bill note begins to decline, you can expect that Treasury note to be about your mortgage, 30-year mortgage to be about 2% less than that. And the trend is showing that that's where it's going. So be encouraged. By the early spring, interest rates are going to be lower than they are today. Thanks for listening. 30 seconds, right? And maybe nobody has time to even get on while you're doing the Facebook Live, but guess what happens? It stays on your site. You can pin it to the top. So anybody goes on your Facebook page, they see that video. They see it 30 seconds. And a couple days later, you do something else with some other information that you got, right? Anyway, great point, Pat. Thank you. Who else? Elizabeth, go ahead. Beth Ann. I don't know, Elizabeth. You've got Elizabeth Ann on the screen, so.
No, that's great. Thank you. So I also watched that Barry Habib video and it was amazing. And I need to watch it at least 2 or 3 more times because I want to definitely pick out at least 3 factual numbers that, you know, I think that people ask about the most when they ask about the business, and be able to, like you said, just in my words, tell them, this is what we see happening. This is what's going to happen. So that's one thing. One of the things I've been working on this week, I've been going to the office every day. I started on Monday. I was there on Tuesday. I was there on Wednesday. I'm not there today, but I will be there on Friday, hopefully. But I started working on a letter to reach out to, and I've sent out postcards, and I send out different things throughout the year to my sphere of influence and my clients, and I farm different neighborhoods that I want to get into. But this letter is a little bit different. It's more, it's more about, it's more telling about who I am to people and what I talk about what I've done over the last year, because in reflecting on 2022, and writing down everything that I accomplished and everything I did in 2022, I found that it was way more than I realized, and I felt good about it. And I want to express that to people so they get to know me a little bit. And it talks a lot about relationships. It talks a lot about giving back, the community things that I've done. and it talks about the business that I've done because of that, and the relationships that I now have with people because they were clients in 2022. So short story long, I'm going to send that out to family, friends, associates, clients, potential clients, everybody. Anybody that I know is going to get this letter. It's a little bit long. They may not read the whole thing. However, it'll be hand addressed and hand signed, and that tends to, I do well with that. So that tends to encourage people, I think, to open them. So that's one thing that I'm going to do, just to see if I can touch on people that, you know, my sphere of influence in a different way.
So Beth Ann, with that letter, how many people are you going to send that out to?
I'm going to start with only 100.
Okay. So here's my challenge to you.
Yes.
When you send that out, you know, obviously give it several days, especially with the United States Postal Service, although I think they're doing better now. I think things are much better than they were. But you know, let's just say you give it a week, or maybe mail one to yourself at the same time. And when you get yours, make a commitment that over the next 30 days of when you get yours, you're going to call every single one of those 100 people.
Okay.
And so that just means 3 calls a day, right? And you call them up, and you know, just like you said, you're gonna personally address it, you know, hand stamp, blah blah blah. Much better chance of them opening it. You're absolutely right. The little bit of extra effort, if you're going to do a letter into a neighborhood, this is different than what I'm about to tell you about, Dan, but
yeah,
if you're going to do a letter into a neighborhood, take the time to get with Kristen or Jeannie or Glenn, to go into tax records and address it to the owner's names. Because if you put neighbor or resident on it, yeah, that's the easy way. That's what most people do. It's the simplest way of doing it. The bottom line is, one, if it may not get to them, right? And 2, you do the address with the name. If it's not the right name, you'll get it back, and you'll know that something happened at that property. But anyway, the point being is the self-addressed stamped envelope, yes, is going to get it open. But I promise you, Beth Ann, that if you take the time to make 3 calls a day, you know, call it a 30-day challenge or a 35-day challenge or 50-day challenge, whatever. And maybe you want to do 2 a day, but you're going to challenge yourself over those next 50 days. And I'm going to call every one of those people until I talk to them in person. Hey, Jennifer, this is Beth Ann. How you doing? Great. Hey, I wanted to make sure you got the letter that I sent you. Yeah, I did. Thanks. It was great information. Well, I really wanted to give you what's really happening out there in the marketplace versus what you might be hearing in the media. And I just wanted to call and check in, make sure you had a happy new year, and ask, is there anything I can do to be of help to you? I'm telling you, that will be so powerful. And you'll find out who did open it, who didn't. And if they say, oh, wait, I've got that in my pile. I said, well, when you get a chance, take a look at it. I think it's got some really good information. And with the people that you contact and you have a conversation with, the third aspect of this challenge is you then write them a personal note. Dear Jennifer, it's really great talking with you today. I'm glad you guys had a great Disney cruise and had a super time. Hey, just wanted to remind you that if I can help you in any way, please let me know. I'm leaving a card in this envelope so that you can contact me at any time. Those three things will vault you into the year in a way that you've never been vaulted before. I promise you.
That totally makes sense. And I feel like if someone got the letter and they didn't read it, if I call them a week later, if the letter's still laying around, they will read it.
That's exactly my point. Think about this. Think about CFCF for a minute.
Yeah.
Right? We've been doing this huge effort with Children's Hospital, and a bunch of you guys have been really helpful in that. But in most situations, it's because we asked you to. We asked for volunteer, ringing the bell at Bel Air, right? I put it out there. Hey, this is something we do every year. Please. It took me asking people to get the time slots filled, right?
Yes.
And so that's where you calling them, did you read my letter? No, I haven't gotten to it yet. If nothing else, you're guilting them into reading it.
Yeah. Yes.
And then behind that, they get a note from you saying, hey, it was great to talk to you. Hope you get to read the note because they haven't seen it yet. If you have any questions about it, please give me a call. Gives you another reason to put something in the note. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely. Okay, who else? Thank you, Beth Ann. That's great. Go ahead, Jennifer.
And I saw somebody doing this, so it's not like my original idea, but where as an agent, they were highlighting like a current property, like a kitchen or whatever is like the important room in that for that home. And so every week they just said, oh, look at this property's listed. Here's this style kitchen. What's the feedback from it? And I don't know how to start or where to start. I had talked a little bit to get started, and we never were he gave me some ideas, but I hadn't gone to the next.
All right. So what Jennifer is saying is that she really wants to engage social media more, to get more people coming to her site via social media. And I'm going to answer your question in two ways. The first way is if you haven't engaged and learned how to use Agent Icon yet, that's what you want to do. Because when you and Kristen, can help you with that. She's right here on the front desk, and Gwen, I'm sure you have it as well. There's a QR code where you can get find the app Agent Icon on your phone, and then you text to a particular number. It's a 412 number, and you register. And then every morning at 7 o'clock, David's doing a really good job of it. He could probably help you with it as well. But every morning at 7 o'clock, you get an email from Agent Icon, and it has a post for you. So this morning was something about, are you outgrowing your home? And it was a picture of a pregnant woman. And it said, are you outgrowing your home, right? You click on that and just copy and paste. It immediately comes up with a URL. You copy and paste that URL onto your social media site, and you've got this really cool, branded, very well-designed post. So every morning at 7 o'clock, I get that, and it's part of my morning routine now. I go in and I post something on Facebook, Greene County, Facebook, Zion Crossroads, Facebook, Charlottesville. And the cool thing is that you not only have that Are you outgrowing your home? You can scroll down and then there are articles. So this morning I picked an article from NAR. And the thing was 3 things that you can do to improve the exterior of your home. That's the kind of thing you're talking about. Those articles would be the kind of thing that you would like to do. You go in, you click on that, the URL for that article comes up, you copy and paste it on your Facebook page, and the graphic comes up automatically. The graphic's there, and then what I do, and this is something I've learned from folks as it relates to social media, don't just post the link, but then also put your own comment on it. Hey, here are three ways to improve the exterior of your home. If you know of others, please comment, right? To get people to engage in the thing. If you just put it out there, then they may not comment on it. But if they comment, and then this is the last thing I'll say, just trying to give you, tips. If somebody comments, you want to be able to respond to them quickly, right? And if they comment again, you respond quickly. You keep commenting until they stop commenting. Because it's just like a conversation. Somebody says, hey, I know a different way to improve the exterior home. Okay, tell me about it. And they tell you, and you don't respond to it, they don't know if you ever heard of it or if you ever read it. But if you say, hey, that's a great idea, thanks so much. Does anybody else have any ideas, whatever? The point being is you have to treat social media in the comment section like you're having a conversation. Because if somebody reaches out to you and you respond and they respond back and you don't respond, it's like you walked out of the room while you were talking to them. And so anyway, that's a really good thought process, Jen. Really easy to do. I would just set up a time with Kristen, and she can walk you right through that. And then, like I said, every day you're reminded, oh, I need to post something. You may not want to do it every day. I do it every day for us. I put it in there for all the offices to try to increase our exposure, but you might want to do it every other day. How many days do you do it, David? Yeah, so David does it about 3 times a week. And do you do it when you just see one that you really like? Yeah. So that great point, Jennifer. Thank you. Who else?
I would say letting people do this is get postcards out there from neighbors, things like that, work on the social media campaigns, and maybe even small ad campaign on Facebook to get after people, and then continue to host open houses.
Yep.
I'm going to do another open house this weekend.
So what David said, he wants to, begin to really let people know he's gotten into the business. He wants to kind of engage his neighborhood. Talking about Facebook ads, Facebook boosts, very easy to do, very reasonable. No, not expensive at all. And you can decide how much you want to spend. You can specify the kinds of people that you want to see it. It's really pretty easy to do.
And I actually did have a few conversations. They didn't leave anything, but people did contact. And that was like I spent like $20 or $30 for a couple of days.
Yeah, there you go. So he said he did a Facebook boost ad on an open house, spent about $20 or $30, and he did have several people reach out to him in regards to that. But the other thing I would add, going back to engaging your neighborhood, this is the perfect time to do that. Because what's happening at this time of year in your neighborhood? The year ended. And so you can do a year in review. You can create a flyer in Canva or whatever with these are the homes that sold in 2022. The average sales price was X, and you can make it, more specific if you wanted to. 3-bedroom versus a 4-bedroom. I wouldn't do that. I would just do a basic thing, and then I would include a QR code on that flyer if that links back to your Howard Hanna Engage. If you want to know what your house is worth, scan here. And so you do a year review. These are oh my gosh, the house is sold for that much. I had no idea they were selling for that much. Maybe we want to sell. I wonder what our house is worth. They scan that QR code. It goes immediately in your Engage. You get notice that they went in there, and now you can begin to follow up with them.
The QR code go to that the home valuation?
Yeah, it'd be the buy side QR code, but if they clicked on it, it would go to your Engage.
Right, yeah.
So we're doing an ad in the Daily Progress. I think it comes out next week with, I don't know, 12, 15 ads, right? And at the top of it, it says, if you want to know more about more listings that we have, scan the QR code, and it goes into our search feature, right? Where they can search for listings that we have. But at the bottom, you want to know what your house is worth, scan this QR code, it clicks on it, and it's going to go to my Engage so we can track it and see what kind of response we get. But that's what you want to do. You want to click it on make it on your link. So if somebody does open it up from your card, you know that's happening. Jennifer. Yes. Yeah, you get a notice that somebody just clicked on this link, and then when you go into Engage, you'll see their information. They'll be the first one that comes up, and then what you can do, if like for instance you're in your neighborhood in Pantops, David, you can immediately start grouping those people into Pantops marketing, right? And so goes into Engage, you click on them, you add them in to a Pantops marketing group. And then what that does is then allows you to do Hannah e-cards to just that group specific to your neighborhood, right? So yeah, great point. But this is a great time. If you want to start engaging a neighborhood, this is the best time to do it because you can do an end of the year review. And then on a quarterly basis, you do some other things as far as getting them into the neighborhood newsletter and those kind of things. You do those, but every quarter you send them an update of what's going on in the marketplace, right? Like on my radio show, I have a show every quarter with the car leaders on what the car market report said about the first quarter or the second quarter or whatever. And listeners know that they're going to get an update every quarter from me on my show, right? So same thing with this, that I'm going to start sending these things out. And just going back to what I said to Beth Ann, David, once you do those flyers or cards and everything, in that situation, I wouldn't call, I'd go knock on their door because she probably don't have their phone number. She has numbers because it's her sphere of influence, but just go knock on the door with the flyer that you have. Have several of the flyers, knock on the door. Hey, I'm David. Hey, Michael, I'm David with Howard Rogu. I just want to introduce myself. And I live in the neighborhood and I'm a real estate agent and I'm just trying to get to know my neighbors. And by the way, did you get this flyer that I mailed to you or this postcard that I mailed to you? No, I didn't get it. Well, here's another copy of it, right? And if I can ever help you in any way, please let me know. And then what do? You go home, you know what the address is, you look them up, you write them a handwritten note. Michael and Dottie, it was really great to meet you today. If I can ever help you in any way, please don't hesitate to ask. Yeah. How about others? Kimberly, talk about discipline. Talk about how I know you're trying to, get yourself on track. When you're working with people, you do such a great job. And I know you're trying to get you on track to be able to work with more people. What are you thinking about that?
Thank you. That was very nice. Okay, since you called me out, I'll just be honest.
No, that wasn't a call. That was an encouraging word.
Yes, it was. And thank you for the compliment. So I'll just be straightforward. I'm noticing a lot of the names on the screen I don't really recognize, and I don't think I've met them. But I've been in this business for a minute, and I'm just being completely transparent. I got pretty burnout. I got frustrated and life happened, and it was just easier sometimes to do other things or put my focus on other things than to really look inward and realize I was responsible for my own destiny and my own journey. And that was a pretty hard place to be. It humbled me quite a bit. Last year was an extremely hard year. I lost a lot of people I loved, and it kind of made me reflect different. So this year, I went into this year going, what do I do well? And I'll, again, being completely transparent, I wasn't real sure I was going to continue in real estate. because I had got to a point where I wasn't real sure that I was very good at it. I was
Ooh,
questioning a lot.
you were listening to some lies right there, girl.
Well, I was questioning a lot, but now, and my faith has grown tremendously. So a lot of conversations with the good Lord up above. And one day and this was right after Thanksgiving. I'm in my car by myself, and God goes, "So, what you gonna do now?" Like, those words were so clear of, "So, what you gonna do now? You think you can't? I've been here all along encouraging you, and for some reason you think you can't? Well, okay, you're gonna give up, just give up." And then dead silence. I promise you, it was like the good Lord himself was sitting right beside me. And I was like, okay, well, that was kind of harsh. It's like, damn, all right. And then I realized I needed to make a difference. And I realized actually one of the very few things I am good at is real estate. And I have compassion and I have endurance. And I always get the transactions that no one else wants or nobody else thinks is going to happen. And that's okay. And I realized I had given up on myself. My clients hadn't given up on me. The people around me hadn't given up on me. I had given up on myself. So for this year, I have first self accountability. I'm accountable for every day. And it's about getting up and looking at what I can do different. The industry has changed so much since I first got in it. And the things that used to work, they don't work so much anymore. So it's about learning. I did not. I am at fault for not taking the time to learn a lot of the Howard Hanna stuff. So my goal is in the next 3 months to really learn it, to understand it and implement it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do it all and learn it all, because I won't. But I will figure out what I most certainly can use and get really good at it. I still believe in personal touch because we get so lost in social media. It's just me, my opinion. So I am that person that will hand you my business card underneath a bathroom stall. I've done it before. Like, I'm that person. So mine is going to be, I do a lot of behind the scenes community stuff that nobody knows about. And I fly under the radar a lot of times. This year I've decided I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be out there and I'm going to be loud and I'm going to educate people. Because when the market collapsed in 07, 08, I was out there encouraging people who were going through foreclosures and short sales and our veterans to let me help them, because there were ways to save their homes. And I probably would have made a lot more money that year if I would have listed a lot more of those houses. But you know what? The good Lord provided for me then, and I helped a whole lot more people save their homes. And those people are people since I have either listed their house or helped them buy something else or helped a family member. So that's going to be a thing. Like, I'm probably went way deeper than you intended for me to, but my point to that is, if you're new in this industry, you can get burnout really quickly. So remember to schedule time for yourself. Self-help and self-care is a huge part of this business. And if you don't do that, you can't help anyone else, because they will notice that you're burnout. So, You know, that would be the biggest thing for me. I'm doing a lot of self-care and just getting back out there and letting people know, wait, I still am here, and educating them on where we are in this market and learning the Howard Hanna stuff. I've got to do that. That's extremely important.
Yeah, so Kimberly, you did not disappoint. You know, you and I, you know, connect back and forth with each other, and none of what you just said surprised me. And, you know, I know that, you know, Beth Ann is right there on your side wanting to help you and encourage you, but it's a good time for me to segue into the fact that, you know, as I do every year, and I'm going to try to lead you guys through this next week, but I pick a word every year to focus on. And, you know, this past year, the word was unity. I mean, I've talked about it dozens of times with you all. And I can honestly tell you that last year, that word was more powerful than probably any other word that I had chosen, just because for whatever reason, it connected so well personally and professionally. This unending, uncompromised, never-ending intensity toward yes, right? That when we do it together, we got a much better chance of getting to where we want to go. I mean, I think we've seen that with our children's hospital effort. We in a short period of time that we started, I think it was what, Beth Ann, May or June, something like that. When we first launched this thing, we've made a huge impact over there, and we'll continue to do that. But it's because a group of us came together to do it. We certainly needed a leader like Beth Ann to keep us going. But this year, and I just sent you the link, Kimberly, to my blog for this week. My word is rise. R-I-S-E. And the reason I share that is because of what you said about, you know, I'm going to make the effort each and every day, right? And the word rise came from a birthday card that I got in November about somebody really affirming the fact that when I wake up and my feet hit the floor, I'm going until the end of the day, right? And it was kind of a joke. It was a picture of the devil, and the devil is the comment is, oh shit, Michael's awake again, and moving out into the world, right? And so out of that came this word rise, right? And for me, as I break words down all the time, rise is resolved, intentional, serving expectantly, right? Resolved, intentional, serving expectantly. And so if I want to accomplish what I want to do, or if we want to accomplish what we want to do, then we need to rise up. And the rise up is spelled UPP/P. And so it's resolved, intentional, serving expectantly, unleashing my purpose and passion. Right. And you just expanded on that so well. But that's what each of us have to do that. We have to individually rise up, right? And know what we're going to do today to put ourselves in a better position tomorrow. And yet together we need to rise up, because if we're walking together in this thing and we see this person's success, or we see this person discouraged, and I can lift them up, or we can lift them up, we can help each other with that self-help. Because you're absolutely right. If we're not good with ourselves, we can't be good with others. And you know, we talk about this all the time as well, this life balance, that we have to make time for ourselves if we're going to make time for others. And so the time blocking and not eliminating my time, which is the easiest thing to eliminate because I'm the only one that is responsible for it, right? But my morning time is so important. And if I don't get it, I go out into the day discombobulated, right? Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And I wrote down in my notes, you know, this recommitment, right? Recommitment. And not doing the same thing that didn't work before, because that's what insanity, right? Mm-hmm. Doing things that didn't work before, not doing that, but really moving forward to do things and measuring them. Is this working? And if not, then let's reevaluate.
Mhm.
let's reevaluate and then re-engage. So yeah, great share. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Got a few minutes left. All right, so let me just end with this. There are some things that I believe that I meant to bring it in here this morning and I forgot. If you would have come in here on January 1st, which was Sunday, you would have seen me here. And one of the reasons you would have seen me here is because I wanted to run the hot sheet to see what listings had expired on December 31st. It was a long list. We haven't seen expired listings for a while, but there were probably 30 listings that expired. You know, I encourage you, if that's something that you're wanting to get more listings and everything, I would, go back and search the expiration date, December 31st, or go back and search expiration from December 15th to January 2nd or something like that, and see how many are showing up as expired. And then going back in and putting those MLS numbers in to see if they came back on the market. And if they didn't, that is a group of people that, reaching out to and saying, hey, I saw that your listing expired. Are you thinking about listing your house again now or in the future? And if they say yes, say, well, are you going to consider other realtors before you do? Yes. Well, now I've got an opportunity to talk to them about what we can do at Howard Hanna, Roy Wheeler Realty Company, to market their house and get it sold. We can talk to them about the 5-day boost. We can talk to them about the 50 just listed, just sold cards that are going to go out. We can talk about the agent icon that we can, promote, blah, blah, blah. We talk about all these different things that we have in our toolkit, because you're going to learn where they are and how to use them. That's just those are people that already had their house on the market, wanted to sell their house, and for whatever reason, it hasn't sold yet. You may be the person that can get that done. Frank Quayle used to say all the time about the fact he'd rather be the second listing agent versus the first. Now, this was in a different market. Over the last couple of years, you didn't want to be the second because they would sell in spite of an agent, right? But now we're back in more of a balanced market. And if people aren't marketing those houses to get them sold, they're just putting on the market. I was talking to Susan Stewart a couple of days ago, and she was looking at property over on the Eastern Shore, and she was astounded by the lack of professionalism with the agents over there. That this beautiful house that's sitting on the Potomac River, and there were no pictures of the water, in the MLS or in their marketing. What kind of heat did it have? The person didn't know what kind of heat it had. She just was stunned by the lack of professionalism. And we can take advantage of that. If they listed with somebody that didn't know what they were doing, it didn't sold, and then you go in there with a Hanna presentation, the listing presentation, and talk about all the tools that we have available, you got a really good opportunity to generate some listings, pretty quickly. The other thing that I want you guys to think about and help me with, and I'll give you one example, but then two, we can talk more about it. If in fact, 1 out of every 6 homes that are being bought being bought by investors, how can we go about marketing that we're the company to help investors find homes to buy? Or how can we be the company to help landlords who know that the price is at a place where they will be really happy about selling it and asking us to list that house to get it sold? And an example of that, you can go in to the tax records and you can search for absentee owners. So again, using David at the Pantops area as an example, you can go to the tax records, David, print out the tax records as far as owners and addresses. And if that address isn't the address of the house, it's in Crozet or it's in, Tuscaloosa or, wherever, those people don't live there. And so you can do a completely different marketing to those people saying, hey, I noticed that you own a house here in Charlottesville. Would you be interested to know what your house is worth? And if you're interested in selling it, I would love the opportunity to talk to you about how we would market it to get it sold. All right. So So I really want us to think about that. And if you have ideas, please let me know. But the other thing, I think in the next month or so, I'll get you, Kimberly, in the next month or so, is I would like to schedule a home buyer seminar. And all of us commit to really using it as a way of marketing to people, to really hear about what's going on in the market, really hear about where interest rates are going to go, really hear about why buying a home makes sense. And we'll get Jay involved in it. We'll get Bill Tucker involved in it. And what I'm thinking about is doing one in person and maybe doing it at the Hillsdale Conference Center. So it's not in our office, because some people feel like if you have it in your real estate office, the people are going to lock the doors and not let you leave until you buy a house, right? But we could, do the Hillsdale Conference Center, neutral site, lots of parking, and then do one in person and then do one on Zoom. If they can't make it in person or they're still uncomfortable meeting in person, they can email you and sign up. And then we would send them the link to the Zoom where myself, Bill, and Jay would be on talking about the real estate process and the lending and the closing and all those kinds of things. So be looking for information from me on us getting that set up. Go ahead, Kimberly.
So it's funny you mentioned that. Two things. This is a whole packet of stuff that I have written out in the last day or two. And one of them is for buyers and sellers conference, educating them. I said earlier, things that weren't working, they need to go away for me in the past, and I need to get out of those old habits, and I need to implement new things. But there were some things that did work. And one of the things, some of the stuff that did was seminars. Because simply, especially in this market, the market that we're in now is so different. And you don't necessarily buy a home or sell a home like we did even a year ago. It's changed so much. So to educate people and the approach on that. So I was going to say, I want to hold, because we want to do this before spring market hits. I was actually going to talk to Beth Ann about it today, but she's not feeling well. And, do it in the different counties, like have a Anna Louisa one right here at Spring Creek.
Yeah.
And we can all, and, sometimes agents feel like that they shouldn't go to these different things. Here is my personal opinion and professional opinion on this. If you don't sell in that market or practice in that market, then don't go, because one, you're just wasting your time, and two, it's knowledge you don't need. So gather the knowledge that you need in the markets that you practice in. For me, I cover a massive area, a huge area. So it's important for me to get that knowledge. That was one of the things, and I follow up with this. One of the things that we used to do back in the day, and it was so much fun. You got to learn who your colleagues were. You were able to send referrals to each other. You were able to bounce stuff off of each other. Was once a week, we used to pick a county, and for 4 hours, only 4 hours, every single week, we would go to that county and do a tour of the listings. It educates you on what's on, and our inventory is low. There's no reason why we can't do this. So we used to do Fluvanna, Louisa, Albemarle, and Greene were the counties we would do. And we'd all meet somewhere and we'd caravan. And we would do a tour of these listings and educate ourselves. And it did a lot of things. When people called you, you knew how to answer their questions. One, two, you were able to give feedback to the agents who were the listing agents, or you were able, before that agent ever listed it, who was struggling with something, you'd have this team of professionals who would come in. And to a seller, that was very impressive. And with the market that we're in right now, where people are all over the map, we're trying to get people to listen to us who do this day to day instead of the media, who's pulling stuff And by the way, that's not local, that's national. So educate our clients on what's happening right here locally. And I really think we should start doing that again, especially with Howard Hanna having so many new agents. Because the other thing is, agents like me, I can learn stuff from the new people. Like, they can teach me how to do this technical crap instead of, and I might be able to teach them something about a house. Who knows? So, like, I think that is something that Howard Hanna should push to start doing again. And when we do seminars, if you commit to it, commit to it. And if you can't follow through, then don't commit. It's okay. But those are things that you're doing yourself a service, and you're doing your community, because your community will remember that. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if
that's great.
anybody's in for that, but I'm totally in to start doing that.
Yeah, and what we might be able to do, you kind of both directions, is if we have a home buyer seminar here in Charlottesville, we have a home buyer seminar out in Spring Creek, we have a home buyer seminar out in Green. We do them on separate days.
Mhm.
And therefore, when you invite somebody and they say, oh, I can't make it that day, you can say, well, we're doing it again at Spring Creek.
Mhm.
Or if, I can't make the Charlottesville, okay, well, we're going to do it up in Greene County, right? And so you have 3 different times, so that it's an objection handler as well. They say, I can't make it that night. Well, you give them 2 other options, or you give them the Zoom option. The Zoom would be everybody, right? You could have the Zoom where you could say, well, if you can't make this, we're going to do it online on such and such. And then secondly, I love the idea of the tours. I think we got away from it, one, because the market got so frenetic. Well, first it was COVID. You weren't allowed to be in the houses. Then the market got frenetic. So they were selling so quickly, nobody had time to look at them. But now that we're in more of a balanced market, we might be able to do something where, again, we do AHA on Tuesday mornings at 9:30, get done at 10:30, and then you could meet Beth Ann, you and Kimberly and other folks could meet at Zion, watch AHA from there, and then go out and tour right after that. And if people wanted to come out to Zion Cross and meet you there, or vice versa, same thing in Charlotte, so that people could leave from here and go tour, just to start it that way. And so yeah, both really good ideas. We'll be working on that for sure. All right, well, we've gone over the hour. This is really, really good. I've gotten some really good ideas that I'm going to be working on. I want you guys to really think about that investor aspect of it. How can we, be more engaged in proactive in finding those investors who are looking to buy things? And in the meantime, any ideas you have, please forward them to me. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate the good turnout, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. You too.